Sure, everyone would love that.
Good evening. We're live. Thanks for joining us. Off camera, we were just talking about who's the palest man on the chat between myself and Ben. I think I'm winning. There's a weird. I look much better without. There we go.
I'll tell you, if you just do that, you look much better, Mike.
That don't help me.
The glare on my forehead is something else. But that's not what we're here to talk about this evening. So if you're joining us live, thanks for joining us live. If you've got a question throughout our broadcast, pop it in the comments box, as I've just done there. We'll do our best to answer the questions as we go. If you're watching later, send us a comment, send us a question anyway, and whoever you're following will do their best to respond. But thanks for joining us as ever. We do enjoy doing it. We do enjoy your questions. And if you ever want to talk about something specific, send us that topic. Tonight on the broadcast, this is the challenging bit because everything's reversed. We have Matthew Pulford, specialising in residential sales and lettings in Wokingham. We have Stephen Down, who looks after Camberley, Frimley, Farnborough area with Chris. And we've got Ben of the famous Ben and Thomas, who are west in Wiltshire. So a really good team. We must have the thick end of 100 years estate agency experience on
Most
this.
of yours, though, right, Mike?
Well, I was just judging hairlines.
Yeah, I was going to say hairline-wise, 100%.
Yeah.
That
So
makes
Steve,
it
much
even
less
even
than
long periods.
around
Yeah.
there.
I've got enough for all three of you at the moment.
Share around then. Don't keep it all to yourself.
But there's 100 years worth of experience, 80 to 100 years worth of experience on this chat. So if you've got a question, then fire away, because we'd love to help. Tonight we're talking about a few topics which mainly contributed by Matthew to chat about. First one being September. September bounce back and why you shouldn't be worried about a perceived house price drop in August. Now, to give some context, the newspapers and websites of the BBC and so forth, I think reported a 1.9% house price drop through August, which was the biggest house price drop in something like 14 years. I think Matthew submitted this subject because he thinks it might be clickbait.
No, it always is though. But if you look at August is always a quieter month anyway. And every September, the media go to town off the back of the fact that prices dropped in August, but when in actual fact they never did because it was just a quieter month. We also had, leading up to the start of August, a massive increase in interest rates, which also slowed the market a touch as well. So it's been a catalyst of a couple of months worth of pretty crap news, which meant that it was a bit quieter in August. But bounce back in September.
So what is your belief, Matthew? Will house prices decrease or increase in September?
Level. They're not going to decrease. They're not going to increase. I think Matt and I were discussing this earlier on today, where there seems to be no exact science behind what a property is, what a property achieves. Some houses out there get more than you expect them to, and you can't work out why. Some get less than you expect them to, and you can't work out why. And it's purely down to based on buyers being key at the moment. Buyers are the guys that determine the value, not us and sellers. But the benefit is that since kids have gone back, we've seen more inquiries come through on our books in the past week than we did for two and a half weeks previous. We've got second viewings booked in on most of our stock, and we've got first viewings booked in more than we have done for the past 6 weeks over the next couple of days. So there's definitely a bounce back, and there's more confidence in the market.
Okay, so Ben and Stephen, I'm interested to know if that is a Wokingham quirk, because I'm from Wokingham and I know that regardless of market, even in 2008, if you list a house in the right street, 15 people come out of the woodwork and crawl all over you to buy it anyway. And Ben, I think you hail from not too far away as well yourself. So you're smiling because you know what I'm talking about. There's just certain roads which it doesn't even matter. there could have been a nuclear explosion and you could probably still sell the house.
Yep.
Is what Matt's saying a Wokingham market thing, or is it a general market thing?
I mean, Swindon-wise, we're finding exactly the same. To be fair, the holidays were quieter, whereas since September's kicked off, we're the same. Second viewings left, right, and centre. Things under offer. A lot more valuations, which tends to normally happen, I find, after the holiday break. So yeah, we're definitely busier. So it does feel like a little bit of a bounce back from that normal. I mean, we've done these markets for long enough that August just always has that air about it of, okay, what are the media going to report this time? Or how low are they going to go this time? And then the September's like, yeah, whatever, told you so, we moved on. So yeah, we're definitely feeling that bounce back down here.
Stephen, Surrey and Hampshire, fire away.
I mean, there will always be the roads. Well, I've registered a couple of people looking in certain roads, and funny enough, a valued one. So I've contacted them tonight, and he probably will pay a good price for that road if it comes to the market. I think for Farnborough and the we've had a good start to September, so they're right, it has picked up. But I think it is Farnborough, Camberley, those clients that have been on a little bit longer are starting to now adjust to their prices to the right price, because there are buyers out there. Definitely, we've probably reduced quite a lot of our register recently, and now they're seeing the second viewings, the offers. So it's I don't think it was August price drop. It's the price drops that's happened previously, where perhaps clients haven't acted quick enough, and now they're starting to. So we're now starting to see the big pickup again.
I think that's what quite often brings the speed back to the market, is buyers missing out on one or two properties and realizing there is demand there and having to act quicker next time, which means the next one and the next one, you get that roll on. Thanks to everyone that's watching. You've got massive people watching this evening, potentially family members.
Hello, Valerie.
and other partners. Chris, I have absolutely no idea whether you're referring to me or to Ben.
Obviously referring to me. They paid a lot, Chris. I'm off shift.
Air traffic control is not too well organised at the moment, I hear, but it did get Matt an extra day on holiday a couple of weeks ago, so he's not complaining. One thing that obviously has an effect on the market and the prices that people are having to pay, because right here, right now, it's costing somewhere in the region of £500,000 per every £100,000 you borrow on a mortgage is interest rates. Now, interest rates are being reviewed next Thursday, I believe, a week today. It's my firm belief that interest rates go up again next week, because I have two savings accounts with a very average amount of money in them, but the rates on both have gone up this week. And if I know one thing, I know that banks know what's happening before it happens. There is no secrecy around the banking industry, that everything is known internally before it's announced externally. And both of my interest rates on savings has gone up. So it's almost a stick on for me that rates go up by 0.25%. How does that work out in the wider world, guys, for the rest of this year?
I mean, for us, I think what we're seeing is that more and more people need and are open to having proper advice on interest rates. I think, gone are the days of just going to the bank completely. Now it's like, I need a broker and I need to be talked through my options and what it means for me now and in the future if I take that product. Whereas before that wasn't the case. People just, going to the bank, getting the mortgages and doing what they do. So we'll see what happens.
Doing it a lot earlier, aren't they?
Yeah. Which is good.
A lot
people
earlier.
should be planned earlier. But I think that's what we'll just see people needing more help on interest rates and mortgages in general, I think.
Well, the interesting thing is the stats came out. The cheapest fixed rate mortgage actually came down again this week, didn't it? And again, they'll be looking at that going, they know the Bank of England rate's going up next week, but they're still bringing their mortgage rates down because the swap rates between banks are still low. So in truth, I've got a good argument at the moment to say now's totally the right time to buy, because prices are lower than they have been for a little while. You might pay a couple £100 more on your mortgage based on interest rates being at 5 rather than 4, but I guarantee you there'll be a massive pent-up demand from buyers when interest rates hit 4, where prices will skyrocket because there'll be more buyers on the market than there are houses. And would I prefer to spend an extra £5,000 interest over the next 2 years, but save me spending another £20,000 on my house price? Yeah, I would.
Yeah, there's always a play-off, isn't there? If your borrowing rate's high, you can normally get a slightly better deal on the property, and vice versa. If it's cheap to borrow money, there's going to be a lot of people trying to borrow it, and that's going to push the house prices up anyway.
And there's still a lot of people that won't do what I'm suggesting. They'll still wait until and that's fine. It's totally up to them. It's their money. Yeah. But I think that if it was me and I was a betting man, I'd be buying now. I think first-time buyers are going to cash in, totally cash in. I think the stamp duty change, stamp duty still being up to 425,000 is perfect for there. And in all of our areas, that roughly buys you a nice big 2-bedroom house, if not a smaller 3-bedroom house. Perfect. Sorry?
6-bed over here, but yeah.
6-bed over there. Okay, right. Maybe a little bit more your side.
I think that's been forgotten about as well.
Yeah,
it's still always free stamp duty.
First time anyone's mentioned it to me.
I think it has been forgotten.
So I think there's and then a lot of the first time buyers out there are in rented. So you're paying 100% of someone else's mortgage and paying someone else's mortgage for them,
and
rather than
a high.
Exactly that. So why not go out and buy something that's under market value, because it will be, at a rate that's maybe a little bit uncomfortable for a couple of years, and then know that you haven't overpaid any house price when the rates come down when you fix at a better rate. It makes sense to me.
Yeah.
And then that is the market.
Yeah, I was just saying, we were talking about that the other day, actually. So if you compare the markets, what market would you rather buy in, where you're competing for a house with 15 other people, or one where you could potentially get maybe even a tiny bit off the price? And it's exactly that. If you put it that way, you know exactly which market you'd rather buy in.
Yeah, exactly that.
I'm interested because I've just come off the phone, just spent an hour on the phone to someone who's very much in the relocation industry, and she said she has buyers from overseas absolutely knocking her door down to buy properties with cash. We're talking like the same regions that buy football clubs, the Gulf regions, the Southeast Asias, where they see the UK as safe money. Brexit or no Brexit, economy or no economy, whatever, blah, blah, blah. The southeast of England is still the best place to just invest money for the long term. And that's an interesting view from outside, that people are knocking her door down to get her to find them properties to buy.
And if they've got cash in the bank, it means they've been shrewd with how they've invested it previously.
Yeah.
So if anybody takes a bit of guidance from that, that should be the buyers that are there with the ability to generate a mortgage to buy somewhere.
Yeah, and I think what normally kickstarts a market is investors or shrewd or wealthy people go first, and then everybody else follows. It's interesting to see that I'm getting those phone calls at a time where everything's being talked down.
Mm-hmm.
So
the rich make more money in a poorer climate, don't they? I'm trying to think of the correct analogy. It's a much better analogy than what I just explained.
More millionaires are made in recessions than are made during times of economic growth. We're not in a recession, but I feel like people are talking us into one.
Agreed.
Or trying to make it one where, look, house prices have come down through the summer. Absolutely no doubt about that. But the reports of crashes and 25% drops and this, that, and the other are just so far wide of the mark. It's untrue. So, what difference to the monthly cost interest rates make? You've obviously already answered the fact that on fixed rates, Matt, they're coming down rather than going up because banks are working to the swap rates rather than the Bank of England rates. What are we seeing from all people who are already homeowners, those of us who are lucky enough to have a fixed rate mortgage at 1.63%? and are now hitting remortgage points. Are we seeing people being forced to sell? Are we seeing people struggling? Are we seeing people just having to cut their cloth accordingly? I'm interested to know what that's like on the ground in people's living rooms.
Here in Swindon, we're certainly seeing a lot more people, landlords actually as well. I think is mainly the case. Specifically saying, actually, this portfolio doesn't work for me. I spoke to a guy literally last week that's multi-landlord. He's had his properties for 15, 20 years. And he called and said that he'd seen us and said, like, I just don't really know where to go. Can I have some advice? And we put him in touch with a broker, and it made sense for him to actually look at the portfolio and go, I need to sell one of them, but actually I need to remortgage two of them. I think what I'm finding the big difference in this market is that people are doing a lot more research on whether it's the time to sell or not than they were before. It's not a snap decision of yes or no anymore. It's like, okay, I actually really need to think about this, which makes sense because of the type of market we're in. So that's what we're finding here.
There's always a cycle of investors as well, isn't there? Really, Mike will know this certainly, because you get the investors that would have had the cash relief off the back of the interest element of their mortgage up until 10 years ago. Might be might not be quite that long ago, but they had the interest element where they could offset it. Then they had the tenant fee ban come in, where their costs ended up going higher because of that. That a few people came out of the market then because they didn't want to be involved with it. Now you've got new investors coming into the market going, I really quite fancy a 4% return on my investment with capital growth because the market's not at its height. I think you've got a change in market strategy based on different individual investors.
Yep.
What about yourself, Stephen? Is it landlords who are selling, or is it those who... I personally, I fear slightly for people who bought on Help to Buy mortgages 5 years ago. I say fear might be the wrong word, but I feel for them because the costs are massively going up, not just knocking up.
Yeah, you're spot on. There is going to be the odd landlord I'm speaking to that is reconsidering getting their tenants out. So I've probably got 2 or 3 already that is in line to come on the market once their tenants are out. So because it just financially doesn't make sense to them anymore. The tenants they got, because they need to up the rent, can't pay the rent. So you got that issue sometimes. And he just doesn't want the hassle of re-renting them. So they will be coming on the market. Myself, I've got my mortgage rate coming up next year. So
Me too.
I'm already early looking into that. It's not as bad as I thought it was. But I do have 2 clients that unfortunately are selling due to being on variables probably far too long. And the cost has gone up astronomical for them. So they have to sell. Not been forced to sell, but have to sell. So I'm getting a real mixture actually.
Yeah, I think where potentially from the outside you see the interest rate triple, it doesn't mean that your mortgage rate triples.
No.
It means that the amount of interest that you pay on what you've borrowed has gone up, but the repayment obviously stays the same on the repayment element. So sometimes, again, it's the clickbait of mortgage rate triples. Well, your mortgage isn't tripling, but you will see a significant uplift in the pounds and pence on that. Interesting question come in from outside, which I'm going to flash on the screen while we've got it. The average timescale for a transaction to exchange, try saying that, now is 20 weeks. What can sellers and buyers do to help mitigate this?
That's the solicitor talking. Well done, sis.
Now, I know, looking from high down on the figures of what Avocado Partners do, that ranges massively. Our leading partner for speed is exchanging on average in 90 days. But that goes all the way out to about 150, depending person to person, area to area, client base to client base as well, because some people deal more in chains and some people deal more in probates and no onward chain properties. But I think, for my 2p's worth, that estate agents should help their clients be more prepared to go to market. That paperwork, that if the question's coming from a conveyancing solicitor, the paperwork that is asked for when a solicitor is instructed should be completed by the time that house goes live on Rightmove, and it would probably knock 2 to 3 weeks off the start of the transaction of paperwork being posted one way or another, because most of that paperwork is prescribed information, prescribed forms that you can get way in advance and complete it and get it sent in. And that means you can get your transaction underway way before. I also like a few solicitors and a few search companies who are getting searches ordered by the seller pre-sale and then passing them on to their buyer, which saves about 4 weeks as well. But solicitors have to be willing to take searches that have been undertaken by someone else. So there's a degree of collaboration, which I know some are absolutely up for and forward thinking, and some will only do their own searches. So I think there's a way of dropping about a month off that just in process, personally. What are you guys seeing? And what are the best ways that you're helping your clients speed up sales? Because 20 weeks, if you're selling something for a landlord, that is 5 months mortgage payments, council tax payments, maintenance charge payments, 10 grand's worth of cost to them.
I think you're right. I think people aren't dealing with it early enough. The sale we've agreed today, I recommended he started solicitors and still hadn't chose it as of today, and I recommended to the point of instruction, getting his solicitors sorted. They don't think it's top of their list when it comes to the market. You ask the question, have you thought about solicitors? Have you got anyone in mind? And half the time they don't. So I think it is, you're right, it is getting it sorted ASAP.
It's an age-old problem, isn't it? Age-old problem. I've definitely had it since I've been in the business. It's people don't want to necessarily plan ahead. I get it to a degree, but like Mike's just said, it can knock off a lot of time off the transaction. And I've definitely feel like I've said it time and time again for years, but for me, that is 100% it. Just plan and prepare and get those forms done. They cross your desk, you do them, you send them off straight away. If you need any help, you ask us. That's how we.
I think they think it's going to cost them money.
Yeah, well, it will
just
do.
Put money on an account. Yeah, exactly. Put money on an account, but get them instructed.
Yeah.
I think it's a mixture of a bundle of things. I think it's get yourself in order. So certainly for your first tick box, I think it's a case of instructing a decent solicitor. That's the key part. I mean, you can deal with some conveyancing solicitors, and we all know them where the first part of their email is admin at or office at or department one at, and then they're not the ones to use because they will take far too long, and you will never be able to speak to the same person twice. But I also think it's a case of we as estate agents and property professionals have done this for years. We've guided people through buying properties for such a long time now. We've done it day in, day out. A lot of people who sell a property haven't done it in such a long time. They actually don't know what they should do. So, and that's not just at the start. That's actually the first 2 to 3 weeks of a process with their solicitor. And I think it's as simple as trying to make the communication, build the rapport with your solicitor, and make sure that they know that you're on the same page as them. But continuous communication from one party to the next will mean that if you've got your solicitor knowing that you're going to call on a Wednesday afternoon at 2:00 for a quick update to talk through what they can do to help, they'll make sure the file's up to date so they can update you on it.
Yeah, 100%. I agree. I think that reaction came in, Matt, when you were saying admin at, team one at, department three at.
Team 782 at.
I had a buyer do that to me the other day, and I was like, "Can we choose again, please? Because just do it, please. Because if you wanted to be in by Christmas, you got absolutely zero choice."
Exactly. My sister is a fantastic solicitor based in Camberley. I won't say too much more, but she is a fantastic solicitor.
A quick family plug there.
Yeah.
If you want to pop your details on there, someone might pick you up and test you out. Matt, you've obviously put your case of why it's a perfect time to buy. It's quite bullish, I think, given you're going against the grain of what the public or what the press and what the media are pasting for people. Ben, 40 odd miles down west of us, where you don't quite see the same ripple of London markets and money. What do you see? Do you think there is more drops to be had in Swindon, or do you agree with where Matt is on the market?
I think that there's more drops, but I think what we're seeing is that buyers down here are being, I don't know whether maybe you call it cheeky, I don't know, but they will come in with an offer of 50,000 less now, and the vendors are having to kind of realise to expect it. And to accept it. So we're kind of seeing the offers come in rather than prices reduce as such. So the listing price is still here, but the achieved price is lower. So I suppose in a way what you're getting to a degree where you've had the reductions, but there's still more to be had, I think, in Swindon a touch. But the buyer demand has gone up down here as well. So I think it still is a very good time to buy here, personally, because vendors are becoming more susceptible to offers and they know they have to.
Is that because
more well educated on the market, aren't they?
Absolutely, that's what I'm getting at. Is obviously prices that people paid for properties. That's a lot of P's. Gets published. That's another one. About 3 to 4 months after a transaction goes through. Maybe people are looking at that and going, okay, well, I'm not overpaying. I'm not paying more than was paid in April to May this year, when they're going to look at the next house and having that armory. And I'm all for people being educated before they view houses. And if you are looking for a house, any of us on this or any of the Avocado partners can produce you a free report on a house in about 30 seconds to show you what the house prices locally have sold and gone through at before you go and view something, whether it's with us, whether it's with someone else. There's an absolute free invite. If you want research done on a property, it takes 2 minutes to produce an email over to you, a report, so you can see exactly what else has been sold. And in some cases, it will blow your mind that the house price or the asking price of a house can be 50, 60, 80, £100,000 more than the last one that sold in the street. And that's your comparable, because if you are making an offer, if you're out there making offers, you can't just willy-nilly throw £50,000 below asking price at someone without showing your due diligence and your workings. I think that's the best way to secure the right house price if you're a buyer.
Yeah, and buyers are more informed, as you say, these days. With people like us helping with content and advice videos, and first-time buyers aren't as blind as they used to be because they've got all this information at their fingertips, which is needed, like you say. Same
goes for sellers. They should be armed with that exact information before going to market. So, gents, we're half an hour in. Just enough time, really, to say thanks for your time. Thanks, everyone who commented. Lorraine, thanks for joining us. If you ever want to join us, Lorraine, on a live chat to go head-to-head with Stephen, conveyancer versus estate agent, the invite's there.
I need to watch that. That'd be good.
Yeah, I need to watch that.
You don't want to watch that.
That'd be a game show from back in the 90s. I'm getting that vibe.
Yes. She's up for it. There's the challenge. It's thrown out there, sis.
I'm here for it. If anyone ever wants to join us live in the industry, you're watching us on LinkedIn or YouTube or whatever, it's not just exclusively, it doesn't have to be Avocado partners on here. If you've got a point to make, or if you want to sort of ask questions or advise the public, then please do join in. A laughing face emoji reaction just popped up. I don't know if that's related to that comment. But on that, I'll bid everyone good night, and we'll be back 6 o'clock on Thursday next week. Thanks for watching.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.